After almost 5 long years, we finally learned about Bennett's origins and his amazing parents, which was one of the most amazing but also heartbreaking stories of Genshin Impact. But above all, we finally entered Mare Jivari, although we only stay at its borders, and this is what we're gonna talk about today. This is gonna be a long and complicated journey across time, but first, this is a theory video and leaks are prohibited in the comment section. I will use information available in the game, but my theories and conclusions are not to be considered the official lore of the game, unless I got something right and it's confirmed in a later update of the game itself. Well then, grab your crimson agate circlet and let's get this video started. Mare Jivari is a very complicated place, but its history is actually pretty easy to understand. 2000 years ago, Xbalanque and Ochcan built Ochcanatlan as the new capital of the Grand Alliance, but when Xbalanque entered the Sacred Flame so that his successors could find a way to save Natlan from the Abyss, Ochcan took over and his tyranny began. Ochcan couldn't stand the people of Natlan coexisting with the Saurians as Xbalanque taught them, because Ochcan was an experimental dragon-human hybrid created by Kukulkan, and this only worsened when Ishlel, the 9th Dragon Lord, taught him how to use the Abyss, which eventually corrupted him. Soon, the Scarlet-Eyed Youth and his heroes defeated Ochcan, and with the fall of his tyranny, his followers, the Tenochtitok, the Anemo Tribe, were exiled from Natlan. Some of them fully embraced the exile and left Natlan to go to the true land of Anemo, Mondstadt, where they became known as the Muratans, Vanessa's tribe, while the rest didn't want to leave and relocated to the most barren and remote island of the nation, later known as Tenochtitok, where they lived for 1500 years until the cataclysm happened and Ryan-Daughter released Bakunawa. The 6 tribes back then were too busy fighting each other, so the Tenochtitok were left to fend for themselves, and were eventually eaten by Bakunawa, all except for one person, Tenoch, who was recruited by Mawika to lead the 6 heroes together with her to fight the dark tide of the cataclysm in an area of Tenochtitok which later became Mare Jivari. Now, there's a massive inconsistency with the timeline here. We know that Xbalanque entered the Sacred Flame 2000 years ago, but also that Ochcan was defeated around 40 years later, because Yupanqui fought alongside Xbalanque and when he was older, he also helped defeat Ochcan. When this happened, the Anemo Tribe was exiled from Natlan, and here's the problem. The tribe was exiled 2000 years ago, but we were told that the Muratans both left Natlan and reached Mondstadt 1000 years ago, because Enjou specifically said that they left 500 years before the cataclysm, so there's a window of 1000 years that are completely unaccounted for, and Enjou's story doesn't even allow us to think that the entire tribe relocated to Tenochtitok and then split into 2 groups 1000 years later. So I think that unless there's something that I'm completely missing, then there's just an unsolvable problem with the chronology of these events. Still about the Anemo Tribe, I hope that this will finally put an end to the theory going around about the Flower Feather clan being the Anemo Tribe and not the Pyro one just because Chaska and Aoife are Anemo. It never really made sense from the beginning for multiple reasons, like the structure around the obelisk is a flame, the Cucusaurs are Pyrosaurians and use pyro-related attacks, and just like the Ictomisaurs are definitely not Anemo just because they can glide with their wings, so aren't the Cucusaurs Anemo just because they can fly. I mean, there are other monsters in Teyvat who can fly but have nothing to do with Anemo, like the consecrated Red Vulture or even the Cryo, Electro and Hydro Citizens, while there are some others who look like they shouldn't be Anemo but they are, like the Wenat since they live underground. The concept has always been very easy. If a being can't use the power of Anemo, then they're simply not Anemo. Lastly, about the Anemo Tribe, why are there no Anemo Saurians? The reason is honestly very simple. The dragons devolved because they began following their new masters, the humans, and they adapted to their needs and to the areas they lived in. But when it comes to the Tenochtitlan, they followed Ochkan, so they hated the Saurians and everything even remotely connected to the dragons in general. So the dragons never followed these humans who wielded Anemo, hence they never adapted to this element. There might be a catch though. As we know, we can indwell the Asha just like Saurians, and they even share exploration mechanics with the Yunkasaurs and the Ictomisaurs. What if the Manatu are the dragons who were meant to become the Anemo Saurians, but kept evolving without adapting to anything until they became these silly-like beings who, curiously enough, mock the Saurians all the time? Moving on, when it comes to the Sea of Ashes, Mare Jivari, it was created when Sanhash performed phlogiston engraving on Tenoch's body, who then let Bakunawa eat him so that Sanhash could use Tenoch's body as an offering to call forth a miniature Night Kingdom directly inside Bakunawa, making it go kaboom. Sanhash and Tenoch both died. The clash between the Night Kingdom, Tenoch's spirit, and the Abyss greatly delayed Bakunawa's regeneration, preventing it from leaving the area for a very long time, but it also destroyed the entire area, turning it into a sea of ashes, Mare Jivari. Then, after Mawika entered the Sacred Flame, Venti decided to blow Mare Jivari off the timeline to further prevent the unique abyssal power involved and Bakunawa, which would have eventually regenerated, from destroying the rest of the bat, sending it to a parallel timeline that exists in every moment in time. Reason why the Wanderer's Troop was able to access Mare Jivari 500 years before its creation. By the way, in case it wasn't clear, we never actually fought Bakunawa. This huge guy is just a piece of Bakunawa that regenerated into a small version of it, which then slipped through the layers of reality, reason why it's called a permeated body, and settled down at the borders of Mare Jivari, while the main body, the real Bakunawa, is at the center of Mare Jivari and, as before, in a different timeline. Now, Venti's actions were only possible because during the Archon War, when he was still an Anemo spirit, he met Esroth by chance at the Thousand Winds Temple. He told her about his wishes and she gifted him a fragment of her authority over time so that he could fulfill those wishes. This means that Venti most likely used the power of time to defeat the Caribbeans, so this could be the reason why we can't go underneath the Caribbeans tower in Old Mondstadt, but also why the Caribbean's death didn't wipe out everything around him, as it normally happens when a god dies. Please don't be another time paradox. Anyway, Venti had to remove Mare Jivari from Teyvat's timeline because the specific abyssal power involved in the area can erode time itself. It's a calamity that is strictly connected to time and it exists in every single moment that will ever be, which sounds very similar to how the people of Enkanomiya described Estroth herself. This reminded me about the mostly ignored 5 Saints of the Abyss that I talked about in the past, who may be the exact opposite of the Shades and the Heavenly Principles, and the power of these Saints might have been what the people of Kharia were trying to acquire. Bakunawa, for example, is the result of Ryan Daughter's earliest experiments using the Abyss, only she used a power that no one could understand back then. A power that had nothing to do with life, resulting in a monster that wants to devour everything in sight. It even ate a piece of Ryan Daughter because she couldn't control it. Now, the only power that came to my mind that could erode time is something that Hoyoverse really loves: anti-entropy. Without going too deep into thermodynamics, entropy can be defined as the arrow of time. Everything goes from low entropy, let's say movement, to high entropy, stillness. For example, when our universe will reach the highest state of entropy, the thermal equilibrium, nothing will ever be able to happen again. It's the end, reason why it's called the heat death of the universe. Anti-entropy, which doesn't exist in reality, appeared in ShadowXImpact, it's the name of Welt's organization, and in Honkai Star Rail, in which Firefly is slowly disintegrating into nothingness because of it. More specifically, her whole existence is completely disappearing. She's basically going against the era of time to when she didn't even exist. Anti-entropy being one of the powers of the Abyss could mean that we have already encountered 4 of these Abyss Saints. Marana caused the space around it to be completely corrupted, which sounds like the opposite of Asmodee's power of space. Gozoithoth corrupted memories, it twisted them into fake memories and fake history, so it's the opposite of Renova's power of death, because death in Tevat is all about memories and how they're recycled so that new people can be born. It's no coincidence that she created the Night Kingdom, which performs the same memory recycling process, and her curse prevents memories from going back to the ley lines and eventually to Irminsul. In short, Renova is the Remembrance and Gozoithoth is the Enigmata. Then there's the Wild Hunt, which really looks like it corrupts life, turning people into zombies almost like Yaosha the Abundance and their abominations, so it's the opposite of Naberius' power of life. Lastly, I suppose we will find a new Abyss Saint in Snezhnaya that will go against reason, so it will be the exact opposite of the Heavenly Principles. Back to Mare Jivari, why are there 2 versions of it? Well, the windless Mare Jivari is the real one created by Venti because time and wind are basically the same, so removing time means removing the wind as well. This Mare Jivari then disappeared from Tenochtitlan thanks to an almost 500 years long plan started by Mawika's first successor 10 years after she entered the Sacred Flame, carried on by every single successor like Shulevitz, Glohari and Kochanina, and finally completed by Isaja around 30 years ago, to seal Bakunawa away and prevent it from ever leaving Mare Jivari. Windy Mare Jivari instead is an abyssal simulation created for unknown reasons by the abyss entity that spoke to Bennett, but considering that Mawika could connect the simulated and the real Mare Jivari, then this abyss entity might be the same anti-entropy saint from before. Now, Venti said that he had to pay a price to blow Mare Jivari off the timeline. Many souls from Mondstadt got stuck there and couldn't go back home, which makes me think that he went to Mare Jivari with the Knights of Favonius and they became casualties in the process. Since Natlan's ley lines had been long broken and the Night Kingdom didn't accept foreigners' souls, they had nowhere to go and were left stranded there, while the Natlanese souls managed to merge with the Monitu, becoming the Asha. What I don't understand is why Venti couldn't save those souls back then when Mare Jivari was still on the surface, but he could do it now only through an abyssal simulation with Mawika's help. With all of this out of the way, it's time to talk about the real MVP of the update, Enjou. He is the lowest ranking member of the Abyss Order, one that can even complete one mission, and he apparently doesn't even remember who he is. I am literally gonna call him Child 7th from now on. Anyway, he's been trying to get to Mare Jivari since version 5.0 because there's a chance he's originally from there, considering that he has memories of how the Tenochtitlan met their end, but his memories are the actual problem here. He remembers witnessing many events from the Archon War, like the rituals on Tsurumi Island, the Colossi of Remuria, the migration from the Gwele Plains, Orobashi's people fighting against the Raiden twins, and the murals of Ochkanatlan. He remembers events from after the Archon War, like the fall of Gurabad and the fall of the aristocracy in Mondstadt, but the problem is that he also remembers 2 things that he shouldn't have been able to witness, not both of them at least. The Sun Children dancing in the White Night in Enkanomiya, and the destruction of Salvindagnir because of the Celestial Nail. You see, Enkanomiya fell when the Second Throne arrived, but the seal only broke during the Archon War, and time in Enkanomiya also moved slower than the rest of Tevat, which makes me think that Istaroth didn't just teach them how to build the Dainichi Mikoshi, she also used her authority over time, but that's beside the point. The celestial nails instead fell when the angels were cursed and exiled, so after Nibelung's death and the return of the Voyager, but a very long time before the Archon War, when Economia was still sealed. How did Enjou witness both events? The solution might be very simple. I think that he was born in Mare Jivari after it got blown off the timeline, when it already existed in every moment that will ever be, just like the power of the Abyss present in the area, which is probably what turned him into an Abyss Lector, and allowed him to be everywhere anytime. Though he's lived for a very long time, he's competing with Alice at this point, so erosion began affecting him, erasing his earliest memories, reason why he doesn't remember his origins. So who is really Enjou? Well, the easiest answer is the Lavawalker, but he's also not the Lavawalker. Yet. Because he has always been present in every moment in time, his story has already happened before it began, reason why it is recorded in the artifact set. This is basically just like Inazuma being already saved before A saved it, or the twin story from A Space and Time for You, so it's another time paradox, but for the first time, it's not Astaroth's doing. As of version 5.8, only the events from the Lavawalker's resolution have happened, because Enjou told us the same words we find in the description of this artifact, which means that, as Mare Jivari is slowly released, we will witness the story from the Lavawalker artifact set unfolding, until Enjou will stroll into the lava and disappear into the horizon. And that's it, I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and if you're interested in Genshin Impact theory videos, consider subscribing. My next video is probably gonna be the 6.0 livestream analysis, and I honestly can't wait to see what Notcry has in store for us. Well then, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, over and out.